Alright, bipartisan talks. This has been a subject of debate for the better part of this week. Both sides of the political divide retreating and choosing people that are going to represent them in these particular talks. It is a subject that has actually elicited different reactions from different factions, that is the political class and also the religious leaders, each wanting a seat at the table. We try to make sense of what these bipartisan talks actually mean and whether the national accord that had been suggested by former Prime Minister Raila Odinga would have been the way to go after all. Right, we want you to start engaging us on our socials. That is at Amwai Brian on Twitter, at Lookuptv. The hashtag we're using tonight is Lookup Weekend. In studio, I'll be speaking to Professor Alfred Omenya to try and make sense of the news this week. This is Lookup Weekend. Let's get started. The highlights tonight. Tonight on Lookup Weekend, tension remains high in Chuka Town following alleged killing of Boda Boda chairman. Also tonight, former President Uhuru Kenyatta attends Easter church service in Mombasa. And a 23-year-old man allegedly takes his own life over family vendetta in Kisii. All right, now engage us on our socials at Amwai Brian on Twitter, at Lookuptv. We are also live on Facebook, and we do welcome you to send your feedback on that particular platform. I'll be sampling some of your feedback as we continue with the program tonight. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Felista Adundo. Now, tension is high in Chuka Town, with running battles between police and demonstrators taking center stage for the second day running. Now, as Ian Keitani now reports, locals took to the streets following the murder of Daniel Mutembei, protest that led to the death of Tharaka Nithi Boda Boda chairperson Willis Mugambi, who is said to have been shot dead by police officers.
Chuka Town in the wee hours of the night. Residents took to the streets demanding justice for one Daniel Mutembei, who was reportedly murdered last month by 5 people well known to the residents. It took the intervention of police officers to disperse the huge crowd of protesters. However, things took a different turn after Tharaka Nithi Boda Boda chairperson Willis Mugambi is said to have been shot dead during the protests.
Leo tunakusanyika hapa si kwa uzuri, but kwa huzuni. We lost one of our own, the Tharaka Nithi County chairman. Na si ati alikufa kwa ajali ama kitu gani, alipigwa risasi na polisi. Polisi ambao wanafaa wa provide security, wanafaa wa provide ulinzi, wa protect life and property. Waliua chairman wetu ati kwa sababu watu walikuwa wanaandamana na yeye akaitwa kukuja kuzuia watu ambao walikuwa wanaandamana.
The Independent Police Oversight Authority has today issued a statement indicating that investigations have commenced and anyone who will be found to have pulled the trigger will face the law. Mugambi's murder has elicited mixed reactions, with National Boda Boda Safety Association chairperson Kevin Mudimba condemning the murder.
Nataka yule askari ambaye alifanya hiki kisanga achukuliwe hatua na tuhakikishe kwamba kesi imeenda mahakamani na hata amefutwa kazi. Na sisi tumesema hivi. Saa hizi tumesema vijana watulie pale kidogo wasifanye maandamano kwa maana wako kwa mkutano. Na kama hatutapata majibu by kesho ama Tuesday, tutaweka maandamano kila siku uko Tharaka Nithi, hakuna mtu atatembea. Na kama haitakuwa hivyo tutakisha Kenya mzima. Ikipita 1 week kama huyu askari hajashikwa, Kenya mzima itasimama kwa maana tutaweka maandamano kila mahali.
Mudimba took a swipe at the enforcing authorities for excessive use of force, urging relevant authorities to ensure that justice is served.
Police duty yako ni kuprotect life and property. Kama ni kukuja kuzima maandamano muko na tear gas. We want to know kama huyu rider ambaye, huyu chairman ambaye alipigwa risasi, was he armed? Alikuwa ametishia huyo askari, na kama alikuwa amemtishia askari, kuna mbinu gani ambazo alitumia kwa avoid kwanza? Kwa maana this guy was unarmed, hakuwa na threat yote kwa huyo police officer, na police officer anatoa bunduki kupiga risasi. Mimi nashangaa Kenya tunaelekea wapi? Kama watu wataanza kupigwa marisasi left, right and center, na polisi ambao wanafaa walinde, hapa ni nini ambayo tunafanya?
Ian Keitani, Lookuptv.
Now, thank you, Ian Kitani, for that. Away from that, former President Uhuru Kenyatta has today joined faithfuls of St. Francis Catholic Church in Nyali, Mombasa County to mark Easter Sunday service. Now, in the company of his wife, Margaret Kenyatta, Uhuru was seen seated with faithfuls as an ordinary Kenyan, as opposed to his presidential stature.
For the first time since his Northlands farm was invaded, retired President Uhuru Kenyatta has made a public appearance at St. Francis Catholic Church, where he joined faithfuls in commemorating the Easter Sunday service. As opposed to the initial presidential protocol, the former president did not address the faithfuls and the media, but he managed to interact with his fellow worshippers after the service. However, the retired president was heard wishing Kenyans a blessed Easter. For a while now, the former head of state has remained reserved with regards to the invasion at his farm, as many Kenyans question his silence. Is this the new norm the former head of state is embracing? Samedika, Lookuptv.
He seems to be enjoying his retirement. Now, away from that to another president. President William Ruto on Sunday afternoon, on Sunday rather, attended a church service at his rural hometown in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County. Now, Ruto was accompanied by the First Lady Rachel Ruto at the AIC Fellowship Church. The head of state explained that he decided to spend his Easter in the village so that he can supervise planting as part of his administration's measures to ensure farmers increase production to address the cost of living in the country.
In the company of his family, President William Ruto has today joined faithfuls of AIC Fellowship for the Easter Sunday service in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County. The head of state has called on parents to look out on their children so as to avert cases of drug abuse among the youth.
I recently appointed a new board for NACADA. I'm working with all the other arms of government. But even as we do that at the government level, we must have a combined effort from the families so that we can meet somewhere halfway and make sure that we secure, protect our children and protect our nation from the dangers and the real threat of drug abuse in our nation.
While reiterating the effort his administration is putting to reduce the cost of living, Ruto has called on farmers to put more effort in producing food so as to reduce the cost of importing foodstuff commodities from other countries.
I ask all of us who are farmers to go out of their way, even as we pray for rains, that we also do what we must do to be able to produce. Because of the situation where we are, we have imported a lot of food. I think beginning this week, it will get to the market. But that is not the solution. The solution is really in making sure that we produce our food locally, because indeed we have the capacity to.
First Lady Rachel Ruto has also insisted on the need of prioritizing families while urging her fellow faithfuls to continue praying for the nation.
When we stand as a church and pray for families, God is going to see us through. A strong family gives us a strong church. A strong family gives us a strong country, and we shall never tire in praying for families. Let's continue praying for this great nation that God has given us. Let's continue praying for the leadership that God has given us.
Samedika, Lookuptv.
Now, a section of leaders from Laikipia County have emphasized bilateral engagement between the leadership of Kenya Kwanza and Azimio Coalition to be done through Parliament. Now, the leaders have also called on President William Ruto and the leader of the opposition, Raila Odinga, to join hands in defending the interest of Kenyans and ensure meaningful progress is made. Innocent Ogaro has this story.
A host of leaders drawn from Laikipia have called for positive engagement, stating that it can only be realized through Parliament, and hence called on the Azimio Brigade to soften their stand and give dialogue a chance. Speaking at the Global Restoration Church in Nyahururu, the leaders underscored the need to give peace a chance for better results to be realized. The senator wants ODM leader Raila Odinga to recognize that President William Ruto won the elections fairly and hence must be respected. The leaders added that they were not ready for a handshake or power sharing with the opposition.
Na hayo maneno mengine ambayo huyu jamaa wa opposition anasema haitakubalika. Na kwanza tunamwambia atambue rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya ni Mheshimiwa William Samoei Ruto. Atambue hiyo. Kama kuna majadiliano yoyote yafanywe katika bunge. Na hatutakubali mambo ambayo yeye amezoea kufanya. Kwa sababu tayari anataka nusu mkate. Na hiyo ndio nia. Ameanza kupitia njia ya kando. Na tunamwambia leo tukiwa hapa kanisani ya kwamba hatutakubali nusu mkate ama kitu chochote kama hicho.
Bishop James Wachira rallied political leaders to be at the forefront to preach peace and unite Kenyans, saying the country was facing a myriad of challenges that needed to be addressed. He said that political leaders must learn from conflicts that have been experienced in other countries, saying Kenyans were not ready for such.
Kwa hivyo naomba hata wabunge wa Kenya, senators, wote ambao wanapitisha sheria wakubali amani iwaongoze. Hatuwezi kuwa na maendeleo bila amani katika taifa. Siku ya leo tunaona kama Somalia, Southern Sudan, tunaona Rwanda, Congo, vile hao watu wamekaa hawana amani. Nation like Congo wana minerals nyingi, hawafurahii. Leo Kenya ikikosa amani ni kusema hatutaendelea mbele.
Instead, the bishop called on the leaders to join hands in championing the interests of Kenyans and ensuring meaningful development takes place.
Nyinyi ni wa Kenya na hamwezi kuhama Kenya. Wacheni tushikane mikono, sheria ambazo zinapaswa kutengenezwa tutengeneze pamoja.
Innocent Ogaro, Lookup TV.
Now, the new installed African Independent Pentecostal Church of Africa, AIPCA, Narok Diocese Bishop Dickson Nkoitiko has called on President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga to have a dialogue for the sake of peace in the country, urging all Christians celebrating Easter to share the little they have with the needy. Audrey Cherotich with this story.
As Christians globally continue to celebrate the Easter holiday, this was the picturesque in Narok County. Congregants thronged the Narok AIPCA to mark the resurrection of Jesus Christ and his triumph over death. It is during this event that Bishop Nkoitiko used to reach out to leaders, urging them on the significance of preaching peace. The man of the cloth urged the opposition leader to completely call off demonstrations, adding that leaders in the government need to allow dialogue for peace to reign.
Rais wetu wa Jamhuri ya Kenya na Raila Amolo Odinga waweze kupatana na kuzungumza, taifa letu likapata amani, waweze kusemezana, waweze kuzungumza, kwa kuwa maandiko yanasema njooni tusemezane, njooni tuzungumze, hata ikiwa dhambi zetu ni nyekundu kama damu, yataoshwa na kuwa nyeupe kama theluji.
The bishop also called on Christians who are celebrating the Easter festival to remember the less fortunate and share the little that they have to show them love and appreciation. He also called on all clergy to pray for the sake of peace in the country.
Wakati huu wa Pasaka ni wakati wa kupeana. Bwana alitupatia Kristo ili tuweze tupata uzima wa milele. Yeye wakati huu wa Pasaka ni wakati wa kugawa kile kidogo ambao uko nacho na rafiki yako na jirani yako. Yule ambaye ako na hitaji mkumbuke. Yule aliye na hitaji, yule aliye na mahitaji, yule aliye na njaa mlishe. Ukuwa na kitu kidogo ambao ungeweza kushare na jirani yako, mpatie na hata pia mshare pamoja na muweze kusemezana kwa amani na kwa furaha na kwa shangwe, na taifa letu liweze kuendelea na kwa utulivu na ushindi. Na Mungu abariki Kenya.
Audrey Cherotich, Lookup TV.
Now, a 23-year-old young man has committed suicide after allegations of domestic conflict with his family members in Boma Sansa, Boma Choge, Borabu sub-county. Family and neighbors were forced to break into the room of Felix Ontinta only to find his body hanging from the roof.
Residents of Magena in Borabo sub-county woke up to disturbing wails after one of their own was found dead this morning. It is alleged that 23-year-old Felix Ontinta committed suicide after a conflict with various family members from the previous night. Family and neighbors were forced to break into the room of Felix Ontinta, who lived in the village of Bomasansa, only to find his body hanging from the roof.
Mimi ni mzaliwa wa Magena, nimeishi Magena kwa muda mrefu sana. Leo imekuwa jambo la msuko sana. Tumekuta mmoja wetu kwa jina Fenya Ontinta amejinyonga na amejiangisha na kamba kwa nyumba yake mahali analala. Kwa ushirikiano wa OCS Magena, DC ya Kenya na wakati wa Magena tumeshirikiana, tumekomoa nyumba. Tumeingia ndani, tumepata ameninginia kwa truss shoe, amejifunga na kamba ya manila, lakini kwa bahati mbaya alikuwa amekufa hapo kuweza kumsaidia.
Boniface Nyang'ao, a cousin of the young man, said that the motive for the suicide is still unknown and requested that the police investigate the matter. This comes as reports from residents indicated that the deceased was yesterday involved in a fight with a reveller at a local drinking den and later had a disagreement with some family members after he arrived home. According to the cousin, the deceased mother and grandmother ran their business in the Magena Trading Center. The residents who were shocked by the unfortunate incident reported the matter to the area police station. Police and investigators from the Ogembo and Kenyanya police stations removed the body and took it to the Ogembo Hospital mortuary. David Alex, Lookup TV.
Right, it was Easter weekend like no other for music lovers in Siaya County after the devolved unit organized a music extravaganza. Now the event reignited the legend musicians, song like that of Musa Juma and Okech Digi. Siaya County is home to music legends such as the late Rumba maestro Musa Juma from Usonga of Limpopo Band, who passed on in 2011.
Tunakumbuka waenzi wa hii rumba kama Musa Juma, tunaenzi tena Usitokale kwa sababu ile wimbo walikuwa wanaimba kitambo ni wimbo zenye zina afya mpaka wakati wa leo, kwa sababu tunakumbuka tena ni nyimbo zenye ziko na manufaa tena mafunzo mingi sana katika maisha yetu. That is why event imekuwa organized by the Siaya County government so that the residents of Siaya can enjoy the Luo music, the rumba side of it, so that we can enjoy and feel good as people of Siaya, where the legend Musa Juma was coming from.
Leo ni siku ya furaha, tunakumbuka vigogo wetu. Kama mimi Dola Kabari nilicheza kwa bendi ya Okech Bigi. Ndio maana niko hapa. Niko hapa kama mtu wa Siaya na niko hapa kama pia moja wale walicheza kwa bendi ya Okech Bigi. Mimi nilitoka kwa bendi ya Okech Bigi nikianza bendi yangu Orchestra Super Kiaki Stars. So nikikuja hapa, nimekuja hapa kama mtoto wa Okech Bigi na nimekuja hapa kama mtoto wa Siaya County.
All right, we are taking a short break here on the program. Don't go too far. We'll be back with that interview that I had promised you earlier, speaking to Professor Alfred Omenya and trying to make sense of the news events this week. There's been talks of bipartisan talks and also just having so much conversation in regards to that, also in relation to the story that we just ran a few minutes ago. That conversation coming your way in just a few. Don't go too far. Engage us on our socials at Amwai brand on Twitter, at Lookuptv. The hashtag is #LookupWeekend. We are also live on Facebook. Be sure to send your feedback there and we'll be able to sample some of it as we continue with the program tonight.
Sensei Institute of Technology is the home to the best practical courses, giving you a hands-on experience to handle the world. For you to join us, ensure you have your national ID card and be ready to enjoy the ride. Sensei College, my skills, my future.
We as Novena United Circle are a society that is able to provide a platform for business startups by providing financial aid to members and creating a platform to accumulate their savings. We look for small business entrepreneurs who are starting a business venture and provide the best opportunity to expand our business niche and turn it into something big. For more information, call us on 0768 757 956 or WhatsApp us on 0734 832 430. Novena United Circle. Tuungane pamoja.
Kamata Mita Instant na Lotto. Draws ni 24 daily, yani kila saa na 50 bob unashinda zaidi ya shilingi milioni 1. Sio ndoto, unangoja nini? Cheza Lotto, it could be you. Nenda kwa M-Pesa paybill number 77700. Andika neno Look kama account number. Cheza na kati ya shilingi 50 hadi shilingi 2000 na ushinde sasa. Round hii ni more draws, more cash and big wins na Lotto.
Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been approved by the BCLB.
Hey darling, are we still on for a coffee date?
I'm waiting for you to come and pick me up.
I should be able to pick you in a few.
It's a coffee yogurt date?
It's not just a yogurt. It's royal coffee yogurt.
Flow with the sweet taste of thick and smooth Royal Fresh coffee yogurt. Royal Fresh, the royal taste of freshness.
Are you looking for a renowned institution of academic and professional excellence to kickstart your career? Then join KIPS Technical College, a top NEC, CASNEP, NITA, HRMPEB and KISIM examination center in Kenya, fully accredited by TVET Authority. We offer high-quality hands-on training in engineering, hospitality, tourism, journalism, ICT, business, accounting, hairdressing and beauty, health sciences, community development and foreign languages, and have placed over 26,000 graduates in employment since 1994. Admissions for April intake is ongoing. Call 0720813113 or visit any of our 6 campuses located within Nairobi. KIPS Technical College, your sure path to success.
Bidii yao ya mtu wa kazini ni dhahiri shairi.
Through the grace of God, tumemanage because we've been consistent.
Pilka za kuruzuku familia zao ndicho kibwagizo chao.
Wakati mwingine wanakosa kazi.
Hapa ndipo tunawapa nafasi kuangazia kwa kina.
It doesn't get easier. So I guess it's been a lot of challenges.
Basi kwa uketo kamili, usikose makala ya hapa kazi tu kila siku ya Jumatatu.
Our main goal was how do we help one person from Dandora or from this area to better their lives.
Saa 2 kamili kwenye runinga ya Lookup na Mimosas Okech.
How do women do it? Will the real superheroes please stand up? Welcome to the best show on all things women.
You can.
Now we have to tell you, on our show, we're not just talk. We're mothers, wives, working women, your hosts, and the list goes on. We also know how to relax and have some fun. It's living the life. Yes, it is.
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your #1 show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home.
When
The food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
All right, thank you for staying with us here on Lookup Weekend. Time for that conversation here on the program, whereby we want to talk about the issue to do with bipartisan talks in the country. We do understand that, you see, the Azimio side, that is the opposition side, did take to the streets quite a couple of times, trying to push the government to have talks with them and actually reduce the cost of living, open the IEBC servers, and change the way in which the commissioners of the IEBC are actually going to be appointed. And those particular demonstrations led to this particular stage where both sides of the divide have actually appointed people who will be sitting down. It is a 14-member team, and I believe the Azimio side has seven members of parliament that have been appointed that will be representing that particular side of the coalition or of the political divide to have this conversation. So we do want to make sense of what all this means, and moving forward, what exactly could we achieve with these bipartisan talks. And joining me for this conversation, rather, is Professor Alfred Omenya. Thank you so much for making time, Professor. How are you?
Fine, thank you, Brian. How are you?
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Hope you're all well at the studio.
We are doing good. We can't complain. I believe so. I speak on behalf of everybody else that is working with me tonight. But away from that, let's just try to make sense of all this first. Bipartisan talks, right. That is what the president termed it, and it's now become a name that we actually go with it. But this bipartisan talks means that it's the Kenya Kwanza side and the Azimio side that come together to have this conversation. At the end of the day, we've seen different political factions, different political parties rather, and also religious leaders and people in the country who also want to be engaged in these particular talks. Where do we go with this one? Do we keep it bipartisan or do we extend it?
I think if you look at the two main protagonists in the talks, the President William Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga, you can clearly see that the President prefers the talk to be parliament-based, bipartisan but parliament-based, and in the narrow sense of the word, that you actually have parliamentarians from both sides appointed by the different political formations, and the agenda more or less limited to what Parliament can engage with. And if you listen to the Azimio side, although they accepted that the talks are bipartisan and led by Parliament, the understanding of the process, of what they would wish out of the process, is something totally different. They prefer an expanded team that is backed up with technical experts outside of Parliament, that is expanded to include other groups and factions, so that they become, their reading of this process is that it's a parliamentary-led process, not necessarily a parliamentary-based process. Yes, so definitely Azimio would prefer a broader talks that include many entities outside of Parliament, talking about professionals, religious groups, and so on, fashioned more or less like the National Accord, and while on the other hand, Kenya Kwanza prefers a parliament-based process.
Okay, let me throw this to you, because what happens then to these different parties that want to have a stake on these particular talks? Because they say the issues that you do want to discuss are very important to the country, especially the issue to do with the IEBC and the constitution of who exactly sits on the panel that gets to interview these commissioners. We've seen the Linda Ugatuzi, also Punguza Mizigo side led by the Ekuru Aukot, also, wanting a stake on this particular issue. I've seen the veterans, that is the soldier, wanting to have these particular talks, and also the issue to do with, how do we call them, that is also religious leaders also wanting to be involved in this one. At the end of the day, what becomes more important on this? Because we have quite a number of issues that the Azimio side did put on the table. We had the issue to do the cost of living, then we have the issue to do the IBC. All these people want to be enjoined in this particular talks, but when we look at it, the side that actually did push for this seems to be one side. So how do you accommodate all of them?
I think this is what is interesting, that you know, unlike the previous talks that we've had in this country, the 2008 National Court talks, the IGPG talks in Moi government, 1997, or even the handshake, which we were never really told what the talks were about. It was two brothers, you know, meeting to discuss issues. This particular time around, it is not clear what is contested. Yeah, because we are here. Of course, Azimio has listed the 10 demands. A number of those are political demands, but there are also legal issues, and mixed with them policy issues. If I give an example, political demand, for example, was you know, issues around the buying of members of the opposition by the president. Then, of course, you've got legal issues like the constitution of IBC and what Parliament did about that. Others, of course, I mean, like opening of the servers. Those are not legal issues, actually. They're political issues. Okay. And issues about what to do about the so-called Cherera 4 and so on and so forth. So we have those issues, and then there are also policy issues when you're looking at the cost of food, when you look at the performance of the economy and so on. Those are actually normal policy issues. The question then is, what is the agenda of these talks? And we've not had Kenya Kwanza, you know, also put a counter offer on the table of what they want the issues to be. The only thing we have is the list from Azimio. And the question again is, would the Kenya Kwanza government want to discuss all these issues? Yeah, because as far as I'm concerned, some of them are just normal government policy issues that can actually be presented in Parliament and debated, and others are, you can call them water under the bridge, because the decision about the election was done. Of course, IBC does not even have commissioners, so one wonders how, you know, matters relating to the performance of IBC in the previous election would be handled. So it'd be quite interesting to see what becomes the common agenda that's agreed, you know, to be discussed. As far as I'm concerned, the common agenda has to be political, not necessarily policy issues as such. Yes, Azimio can actually put their policy positions in place, but I don't think, I mean, we have a government in place, the government does have policies, and yes, we can actually engage with those policies and question them. Or where the government doesn't have the mechanisms actually of putting those policies. Azimio is not co-governing with Kenya Kwanza. But on the other hand, there are forward political issues. For example, the constitution of the IBC, that has to be agreed and that has to be settled. So I think matters like those can then be picked up and then be you know, canvassed through the parliamentary process. The question comes that what are the issues that would warrant expanding this beyond the two major parties? What are these broader issues that you know, involve all Kenyans and so on? As far as yeah, and I think that is what we need to really look at. And yes, that is not to say that the issues are not there. But for example, if you're looking at the constitution of IBC, I think that is something that requires input from the broader public, because elections is not just about the two protagonists as that we were. And yes, I mean, even some of the policy issues are issues that Kenyans can actually give feedback on, but how that is handled then becomes different, because I don't think there's any dispute about the policies as such. in the sense that Azimio has not put any policy positions on the table that they would actually want pursued when it comes to the issues of the economy. And on the other hand, Kenya Kwanza also does not have any concrete policy things on the table. So I don't know how some of these matters would actually be handled, because they're normal policy conversations that can happen through simple public participation. We are not disagreed as a country, one way or another, because we really don't have any options that we are discussing currently.
Okay. Let me throw two questions to you. One is in regards to what the former Prime Minister had actually suggested before. He had actually said that he's not going to accept anything that is not close to what happened in 2008, and that is the Kofi Annan kind of formation in terms of reaching to a resolution. And also, at the end of the day, because the common people down here are focusing on the issue to do with the cost of living. But does that really need to have, two sides of the political class coming together to have a conversation on the same? Because I can quote Raila Odinga saying that this one should be top of the table in these discussions, and there should be willingness from the government to actually get to reduce the cost of living, and we don't even need to talk about it.
Exactly. I think there's a consensus that the cost of living must come down. That's what I was saying, that actually we don't even have a disagreement. And what we should be looking at is, what are the policy options, to enable that to actually come down. Okay. I think, and this to me is a bigger question, that what are the disputed bits that would make this, take the shape of a national accord? I don't think there's dispute about who is in government and who is not. Okay. I don't think that's an issue. Azimio members of parliament have already taken their positions. They have got minorities, whips, and they've got minority leader in parliament and so on, which means that they actually accept this, and they did actually accept the outcome of the court process as it actually were. So I think on this one I disagree with Raila, honestly. The National Accord of 2008 is radically different, because that was contestation of power. It was contestation of legitimacy of government. Currently, I don't think we have any contestation of power. In fact, what you're looking at are actually policy issues and also political issues political and legislative issues, as it actually were. Okay. I think Azimio is more concerned, if you can put it this way, about the behavior of government, really, the behavior route of government politically, not even in terms of policies. Okay. For example, the manipulation of the single-handed decision in terms of how the new IBC is going to be selected. We are seeing, basically a Kenya Kwanza that dominates the policy space and doesn't really care what Azimio thinks. We are seeing a situation where there's a lot of interference with the way the opposition actually does its work and so on. So basically, I think the issue of the economy and the centrality in these talks is more as to ensure that the talks have got public support. Yeah, so in this way, the public are actually being used to fight sort of a political battle. As far as I'm concerned, this is my own diagnosis of the situation. That the president and his Kenya Kwanza people, the way they are moving very fast, and they're going to destroy the opposition altogether. And the opposition had to stop them. And the way to stop them was for the opposition to go to the streets. Okay. But having done that, I think the opposition now need to clarify what their agendas are and what their irreducible minimums actually are.
Could you say the opposition did achieve what it wanted from the onset in regards to taking to the streets? Did they finally? Is this probably what they envisioned when they were starting the process?
I would like to think so. I would like to think that basically the opposition were powerless in a situation where Parliament was dominated by Kenya Kwanza, the president is moving very, very fast to actually consolidate his base, raid the opposition, which he did right from the start, and keep poaching members from that side. So there was real fear of the opposition dying, actually. And I think the opposition did succeed on this one by sending a very clear message to the president that even if you bought all members of parliament, we have other avenues through which we'll ensure that your government is not only held to account, but actually stalled, as it actually were. So I think the strategy of stalling government was very effective. I think what then needs the opposition needs to really work on is to clarify what the asks actually are.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, the economy is very, very important. It's critical. However, as far as I'm concerned, that is not contested.
Okay.
That's a situation where the opposition can actually generate its own policy positions and simply debate with the government or demand that the government generates its policy position on these matters, and then they can actually shape it. I think, to me, the issues that are critical and that will be interesting are more the political questions for the opposition, despite the fact that the economy was used as they were. And like I was saying, the political question for me is not even about the contestation of the previous election as such, because I think that is water under the bridge, but it's more the issues of the future. Yes, the raiding of the opposition, not allowing the opposition to function as it should actually function, issues around composition of IBC, which is a future issue, and so on. But again, like I was saying, the opposition needs to be clear about what are these core issues that they actually want, debated in the table, so that then we can have a clear outcome like the IPG. We can have a proper agenda like like the National Accord and so on.
Okay.
And then, of course, on the basis of that, we can determine whether this is something that can be dealt with by Parliament alone or needs to be expanded to other sectors in society.
All right. Now, both sides of the political divide have quite some hardliners, if you may, that have been presented forward or rather being proposed to actually lead these particular talks. And there's one issue that actually gets to stand out. The cost of living, you say we do agree on that particular issue. The issue to do with opening of the servers, this is also one of the issues that the opposition is putting across. But one side of the political divide says, now that is something that we are not going to do. So what happens in that when we get to a place where we have a stalemate? We don't agree. Because Raila Odinga did warn that if at all there will not be willingness to actually continue these conversations, we'll get back to the streets.
In fact, I think it's interesting because especially on that matter of opening of the servers, because as far as we are concerned, the servers were opened. The Supreme Court ordered that they be opened and checks be done, and those were done actually. The Supreme Court itself suggested that there was nothing unusual from what they'd actually sampled. Okay. So again, one wonders. If I to look at this demand in other ways, one wonders how an order like this would be executed. Who does it exactly? Of course, we don't even have the IBC technically, since all the commissioners are away. So are they telling us that this technical staff will actually go there and open those servers? And then, who scrutinizes it? What are the mechanisms of doing this? And what is the end game of so-called opening the servers? Okay. I think I would be quite surprised if President Ruto agrees to this, not necessarily that there's anything to hide in the servers, but simply because, again, as far as I'm concerned, that was sort of a done deal. Okay. But still, I mean, remember how people negotiate. The way you negotiate is that you put everything on the table, plausible and implausible, and then the other side will come in and say, no, we don't agree on this, we shall not discuss this, but we shall discuss this, and that. Okay. And through that haggling, I think some of these things that have been put on the table are just going to disappear on their own.
All right, Prof, I'm out of time.
I don't think we even need to worry about them.
I'm out of time, but I'd like to pose this one question, just a few seconds, if you may, and this is not in relation to what you're talking about, but listen, there's been a debate happening in the country in regards to the government actually delaying paying salaries to its employees and public servants. Where did we go wrong? How did we get to this particular point? Because if you ask anyone from government, they are throwing blame to the handshake government, quote unquote. So how did we get to this particular point when members of parliament, it is the 8th of 9th, or tomorrow is going to be 10th of April, and yet they've not yet received their salaries?
Brian, I think one of the most disappointing things with this Kenya Kwanza government is not taking responsibility. Kenya Kwanza government was government immediately they were sworn in, and they got into office. There is no other government in the Republic of Kenya, so they cannot keep pointing fingers at the previous government, that left power almost 8 months ago.
Okay.
One of the challenges that was there really, and that was bad behavior of the Uhuru Kenyatta government that actually the President Ruto was part of, was basically ridiculous levels of borrowing, and that this is something that we complained about throughout the entire 10 years of Uhuru Kenyatta in power.
Okay.
And these people cannot say that they are not aware of what was actually happening there. We know government must pay their debts, but we also know that the government must actually still run their current. In fact, part of the challenge in Uhuru's government was development spending. But now, I mean, Ruto's government has taken us to a new low where we are even worried about, payment of salaries, which is the core of recurrent spending. And government does not inspire hope. They should be telling us how they're going to deal with this rather than pointing fingers at the Uhuru Kenyatta government. This is a simple cash flow issue, and there are economists in government that should have planned for this. They know when the loans are coming due. They know how much revenue Kenya Revenue Authority is generating. They know how much we are spending on national and county recurrent. So simply, it should actually be management. The point is that the fellows who've been put in those offices, from Treasury to the President himself, must actually start working, including that advisor of theirs, Wanandi. They must work to ensure that this doesn't happen.
All right.
To come and tell us that now this month, we had huge, repayments.
Yeah.
Therefore, salary is delayed. That's nonsense. That's totally unacceptable.
Okay.
They're being paid to ensure that this doesn't happen.
All right, Professor. Thank you so much for your time, and you're totally out of time. Thank you so much for your time and your insights, and just helping us try to make sense of what is happening or what has been happening this particular week. I do appreciate your time. We don't take it for granted.
Thank you very much, Brian.
All right.
Do have a nice evening.
Okay, now we will be taking a short break here on the program. Then when we come back, we'll be going to Matter Sports. Don't go too far. You're coming back with sports. I'll be telling you exactly what is happening in the sporting world.
Okay, guys. Amemaliza.
Why Malindi? Any idea why the A-list celebrity